Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang just won Podcast of the Year at this year's iHeart Podcast Awards.
Oh, wow. You're kidding. Stop it.
Lady Gaga will take home the Innovator Award at Monday's iHeartRadio Music Awards. Now, these iHeart Award winners are teaming up on a brand new episode of Las Culturistas.
Thank you so much for having me here, but please don't make me get angry about anything in public.
Just open the free iHeartRadio app, search Las Culturistas, and listen now.
What's up, y'all? I'm AJ Andrews, pro softball player, sports analyst, and the first woman to win a Rawlings Gold Glove. On my new podcast, Dropping Diamonds, we dive headfirst into the world of softball by sharing powerful stories, insights, and conversations that inspire and empower. It's time to drop bombs and diamonds. Dropping Diamonds with AJ Andrews is an iHeart Women's Sports production in partnership with Athletes Unlimited Softball League and Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment. Listen to Dropping Diamonds with AJ Andrews on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Brought to you by Novartis, founding partner of iHeart Women's Sports Network.
Have you ever wondered if your pet is lying to you?
Why is my cat not here? And I go in and she's eating my lunch.
Or if hypnotism is real?
You will use the suggestion in order to enhance your cognitive control.
Or what's inside a black hole?
Black holes could be a consequence of the way that we understand the universe.
Well, we have answers for you in the new iHeart original podcast, Science Stuff. Join me, Jorge Cham, as we answer questions about animals, space, our brains, and our bodies. So give yourself permission to be a science geek and listen to Science Stuff on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Prohibition is synonymous with speakeasies, jazz, flappers, and of course, failure. I'm Ed Helms, and on season 3 of my podcast, Snafu, there's a story I couldn't wait to tell you. It's about an unlikely duo in the 1920s who tried to warn the public that prohibition was going to backfire so badly it just might leave thousands dead from poison. Listen and subscribe to Snafu on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
In 2020, a group of young women found themselves in an AI-fueled nightmare.
Someone was posting photos. It was just me naked. Well, not me, but me with someone else's body parts.
This is Levittown, a new podcast from iHeart Podcasts, Bloomberg, and Kaleidoscope about the rise of deepfake pornography and the battle to stop it. Listen to Levittown on Bloomberg's Big Take podcast. Find it on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Still the Place with Laura Layton,
Courtney Thorne-Smith,
and Daphne Zuniga, an iHeart Radio podcast.
Welcome to Melrose Minute. We have a very, very exciting guest today. Jack Wagner. Woo!
Hey. Hi. The most fun troublemaker on set, whatever show you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. You know, what a reputation. I love it.
It's such a good reputation.
Have your ears been burning because you have come up a few times on our podcast and we've talked about how much fun everybody talks about fun stories with Jack and either you trying to sabotage, make us laugh and, you know, any of that. But yeah, we're so happy to have you for this Melrose Minute. And we're hoping that we're going to get a longer session with you because there's way more stories to tell and
good.
Fun to have.
Let's do that for sure.
We're going to get a much longer Melrose hour with you.
Yes, in person.
But this is really to talk about your show.
Its finale
on Sunday.
Right. Yeah. So thanks for having me to be able to promote this Sunday, the season finale. The show's called When Calls the Heart on the Hallmark Channel. And it's so funny to be with you guys, because it's such the opposite type of material than Melrose Place, which was pretty racy, right? And bed scenes and backstabbings and this is family-friendly television. So it's just a heartwarming show, and it's about a pioneer town at the turn of the century. It's based on a book by Janet Oakey, and about a school teacher who leaves the big city and goes to the pioneer to become a school teacher. And
it's got a huge following, Jack. I mean, it's a phenomenon. It's like Hallmark's biggest show, I think.
It is. Yes. Yeah, and I know you guys can relate to this because of the series you've been on, and especially the show we were so blessed to be on, Melrose Place. When you have that core fan base, and they call themselves, girls, that hashtag Hearties.
So sweet.
And we tweet with them and have tweeted for 12 years live during the episodes on X. And so I think that really has endeared, I think, us as it's humanized us to the audience. And they're just a very loyal fan base.
Well, it's
That's
incredible.
amazing.
So we have loyal fans, right? They'll still come up to you. I'm wearing my heart in honor of the Hearties. I went down the rabbit hole with the Hardy family reunion, and I am so envious of everyone who gets to be there. This is the one from last year. The woman made a quilt, and she made actual 3D buildings, images of the building from the quilt. There were friendship bracelets. I was watching it thinking, what an extraordinary community to be a part of. It's incredible.
That's a good word, Courtney, is community, because that's really the foundation, I think, of this show, right? It's really heartwarming. And of course, there's comedy. You know, I wouldn't really be involved in anything if I couldn't find comedy in it.
You'll find it.
So it does. It's really a cute, funny show with romance and very, very, really touches your heart.
Have you been on all 12 years, Jack?
Yeah. I actually came on because of Lori Loughlin. You know, her husband is a buddy of mine, you know, from golf. And so she's like, the golf course, she goes, you know, I'm on this show. You should really check this out, because they had just done a Hallmark movie. So I went to one of their events and met the producer, and I joined towards the end of season 1.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And 12 years.
How often are you in Vancouver? How long is the season?
It's July to November.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, you know, because they've built a pioneer town.
In Vancouver. Is it in Vancouver? Outside Vancouver?
In Vancouver, outside Vancouver, Langley. I remember, Daphne, we saw each other at the airport, remember?
Yes. Jack, and I was trying to look up, we did 2 other movies, I think both in Canada as well, or at least one of them.
We worked together more after Melrose.
Yes, and we did.
We worked together on Melrose Place, right, Daphne?
I know. I mean, I survived Melrose because I didn't have to deal with Peter Burns. I don't know if Joe could have handled your crap.
That was some of the best part.
It was.
When we had Laura in the doctor's office coming up with
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, that was some of the best.
Go for a pencil sharpener day, an apple. What do we got? Right?
There was at some point I think I was a spy. And
so basically, Jack Wagner's doing the pendulum. You're starting from the darkest of the dark comedy to the Hearties, like in one career.
Yeah, totally. It does remind me a bit of General Hospital in the 80s, right? Well, that was kind of my big break. And that fan base of that soap opera is still there. You know, I still get called Frisco probably more than anything.
Oh my gosh.
Really? And so, as you guys know, when a fan base, you know, starts to fall in love with the characters, it's very real for them. And it reminds me a little bit of the GH fans back in the 80s.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, yeah, we talked about the community for a second. I was thinking about last year, all my girlfriends and I watched The Residents separately together. It was so much fun. And going down the rabbit hole of this convention, I just thought, they get that all the time. Like these people, they connect. There's a show. There's Heart to Hearties, which just, how incredible. So they have this, they maintain this all year, this connection around this show. And I think it's extraordinary because I think we're all really looking for community. And what a sweet way to find it.
Good point, Courtney. I think this show resonates with people given our, you know, political temperature in the country for the last 10 years or more, right? I think people look for something that's safe. You know, and something, we don't show blood, we don't show sex, we don't show nudity, we don't use profanity, but yet we can shoot a gun every night.
It's kind of a miracle you were cast, if you really think about it. I mean, you have good agents. I mean, thank God for Lori.
Had they not met you, Jack?
Did they know you?
I mean, golf, yeah, okay, but
that's right. Yeah, we're all still fooling them, right, girls?
12 years, they still don't know.
Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang just won Podcast of the Year at this year's iHeart Podcast Awards.
Oh, wow. You're kidding. Stop it.
Lady Gaga will take home the Innovator Award at Monday's iHeartRadio Music Awards. Now, these iHeart Award winners are teaming up on a brand new episode of Las Culturistas.
Thank you so much for having me here, but please, please, please don't make me get angry about anything in public.
Just open the free iHeartRadio app, search Las Culturistas, and listen now.
Is this a good time? It's me, Dylan Mulvaney, and my dear friend Joe Locke from Heartstopper and Agatha All Along is my very first guest on my brand new podcast, The Dylan Hour. It's musical mayhem, and it is going to be so much fun.
I like a man.
You like a man. What do I like, Joe?
You like a man too.
We often...
There's quite similar...
There's some cross-pollination happening in here.
Not like...
No.
Have we? No. No.
Not yet. Never
Not yet.
say never. I cannot wait for all you girls, gays, and theys to join me on this extremely special pink confection of a podcast. There is so much darkness in this world, and what I think we could all use more of is a little joy. Listen to The Dylan Hour on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Love ya!
Have you ever wondered if your pet is lying to you?
Why is my cat not here? And I go in and she's eating my lunch.
Or if hypnotism is real?
You will use the suggestion in order to enhance your cognitive control.
Or what's inside a black hole?
Black holes could be a consequence of the way that we understand the universe.
Well, we have answers for you in the new iHeart original podcast, Science Stuff. Join me, Jorge Cham, as we tackle questions you've always wanted to know the answer to about animals, space, our brains, and our bodies. Questions like, can you survive being cryogenically frozen?
This is experimental. This may never work for you.
What's a quantum computer?
It's not just a faster computer. It performs in a fundamentally different way.
And do you really have to wait 30 minutes after eating before you can go swimming?
It's not really a safety issue. It's more of a comfort issue.
We'll talk to experts, break it down, and give you easy-to-understand explanations to fascinating scientific questions. So give yourself permission to be a science geek and listen to Science Stuff on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Prohibition. It's no secret that banning alcohol didn't stop people from living it up in the 1920s.
When we're 5 years into Prohibition, the government is starting to go, okay, this isn't working.
In fact, you might even say it backfired spectacularly. I'm Ed Helms, and on Season 3 of my podcast, Snafu, we're taking you back to the 1920s and the tale of Formula 6. Because what you probably don't know about Prohibition is that American citizens were dying in massive numbers due to poisoned liquor. And all along, an unlikely duo was trying desperately to stop the corruption behind it.
They were like superhero crusaders, turning the page on a system that didn't work, wasn't fair, and was corrupt.
So how did Prohibition's war on alcohol go so off the rails that the government wound up poisoning its own people? To find out, listen and subscribe to Snafu on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sonoro and iHeart's My Cultura podcast network present The Setup, a new romantic comedy podcast starring Harvey Guillen and Christian Navarro. The Setup follows a lonely museum curator searching for love. But when the perfect man walks into his life...
Well, I guess I'm saying I like you. You like me?
He actually is too good to be true.
This is a con. I'm conning you. To get the gelato painting. We could do this together.
To pull off this heist, they'll have to get close and jump into the deep end together.
That's a huge leap, Fernando, don't you think? After you, Chulito.
But love is the biggest risk they'll ever take.
Fernando's never going to love you as much as he loves this job.
Chulito, that painting is ours.
Listen to The Setup as part of the My Cultura podcast network, available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And you guys must be like a family too, the cast at this point. That's a long time to be. You probably have an apartment there, but it's kind of on location for 6 months.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I live in the apartment side of a hotel, but it's like this, when you see, people you've worked with, it's like high school friends, you seem to reconnect immediately and go down memory lane, and it's like no time has passed. The strange part about the blessing of this show is it's like we're returning to school every year. I mean, we talk about it as a cast in the green room, 12 seasons, and it hasn't been announced, but I think we're going to get 13.
Wow.
It's almost like we show up and we pinch ourselves and just really listen. The most important thing for me, and I know you guys know this for yourselves as well as myself, and that is that the actors and directors, we're all seasoned enough now where we collaborate on the material. I'm able to call the showrunner when something's not right, if they missed something, if it's not funny, and they trust me. And so it's such a great work environment that I know you guys appreciate it and also do yourselves when you can collaborate on set and make something better, raise the bar. And so
there's a trust factor from knowing each other so well.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we started this, Jack,
Mm-hmm.
We were like, yeah, we got along. And my other side of my brain was, did everyone really get along in Melrose Place? And then I remembered, yeah. I mean, the biggest disappointment for interviews that I did from Melrose onwards was that there was no drama, really. There was no that was on screen. We got paid to do that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I agree with you.
There was a trust there and depending on each other and a fun. I mean, your stuff with Laura as Sydney and you as Peter and Michael in that office was like a whole other. I mean, that was like amazing comedy. And there, that only
we had a
comes
little
with
bubble there. Yeah, but I think you're right, Daphne. There really is when the cast gets along, and I think it all like for us, it all sort of dripped down from Heather. When your kind of lead has got it together and is kind and loving, I think that kind of like drips down from the top, even producers, right? We didn't have, jerks that were execs. We had really good dudes,
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, anybody who acts out looks ridiculous when number one on the call sheet is as lovely as Heather was. We just talked to her a few weeks ago, and it was amazing. She looks exactly the same. She sounds exactly the same. She's as funny and charming and irreverent
we got to get the two of you on together because that
would be amazing.
Wow. Lucy and Ricky.
And we have this funny thing where like the three of us weren't around for the final seasons, and you were. So there's a whole different flavor of the show that you have an experience of, and probably even maybe a more recent memory of than the time that we associate with because of those years or whatever. And it was for a show to go for 7 years at all is miraculous, which is why like your 12-year run on When Calls the Heart is even, more amazing. And, but like you must have had like this feeling of a couple of different eras of the time on Melrose even.
Yeah, I think so because of the cast had shifted, especially towards the last year or so. I think they were trying to, I think we can all feel when something may be coming to an end, right, on a series. And so it felt like it there. So I felt really honored to, have the last scene of the show to be, Heather and I having bought this island and faked our death and doing our vows and walking off, on the beach in the sunset was like, wow, what an honor, to kind of carry, the old guard into the last scene of the show. Right. Yeah. So I agree. We lost the cast and it felt like it was coming to an end, and it was sad. You guys weren't there. Seriously.
Well, thanks for saying
it was strange that it went on, but that's the amazing thing about When Calls the Heart, that you guys are all still together, that you get to see each other every year. I love that moment coming back from the summer, right? It's like school, like you got your new school clothes and you're ready for the new year. And the other thing we've talked about a lot. Yeah, getting the new script. On Melrose Place, remember, it was like word perfect. We were all young and we were all sort of green, except Daphne, who'd done several movies. Right. But we were all sort of green, and it was like exact words. And I love that you said that this is more collaborative because you're all grown-ups. So it's nice to be heard and bring your experience into it.
Oh, you know what? I'll save my audition for Melrose and then my first.
Yes, save it for our hour with you. We're gonna put you through the ringer, don't you worry.
Yeah, I'll remind you of that when I come back. And
cannot wait. Do you think that the When Calls the Heart cast and crew, do you think they see the same version of Jack that we saw? Like, are you like, do you have to temper sort of your, just like according to the role?
You're still fun.
Do they have the same version of Jack?
I think I hate to say this, but I might have grown up a little bit.
Oh, wow. Oh, say
so. Maybe my goal is to see how sarcastic I can be on set to make the crew laugh at anyone's expense. Maybe. But, I've always been a real believer in laughter really makes a set much more enjoyable, right? And I find sometimes the most emotional scenes, clearly you're focused and you're connected, but it's almost like a funeral. Laughter seems to break the ice, and you can open yourself up even for a more organic performance, right? Yeah. So I've always been a real fan of a component of having laughter around the set. I just think maybe I've maybe grown a little bit, and it's not at maybe my other actors' expense, so much, but more self-deprecating.
Do you remember? This is my favorite memory of you, that you always pretended you couldn't remember Heather's name. You'd be like, "Where's Helen? Where is Helen coming?" Do you remember that? It made me laugh. You did it for probably 5 years. Made me laugh every single time.
Good.
Every single time.
I'll use my material until like it's finally produced. Like, really, are we going with the Helen Heather thing again? Seriously, can't we come up with some new stuff? I love this. You're best audience, Courtney. You're my best. Thank you.
Yeah, she remembers.
It still makes me laugh. It still makes me laugh 30 years later.
I might actually have one of your headshots in my memorabilia box because
bring it
there was a
Thursday.
time when you're like distributing that, and I got one.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm gonna look
it up in your bedroom.
It's not on the wall, but
who did that cast photo one year where they put my face superimposed over the whole cast? Was that Thomas?
Probably.
I think it was Thomas. Yeah, I don't know what message.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Between you and Thomas, poor Laura. Those scenes, all that you had to go to work with those two, Laura.
I loved
it.
She was a champ. Laura's funny. She does comedy so well.
So funny.
We have good stories that we have to hold because we have a whole big episode with you and so many fun stories. I'm sure I'm going to think of more after we say goodbye after this Melrose Minute. But the coolest thing is to have I haven't seen you in a million years, and it's like it was yesterday, and it's so fun to see your face and to hear.
You guys look amazing. I mean,
cool
I've seen Courtney, we've seen each other at a few Hallmark functions.
Yes,
right?
we have.
You were working over there for a while, so we've caught up here and there. And Daphne at the airport, and Laura. You know,
when you're doing movies with Josie, do you and Josie still do your Hallmark movies?
Oh my gosh! You know, we did a franchise of 6 called Wedding Bridge.
Crazy cool.
She is. I never got to really know Josie on Melrose Place because I really didn't work with her much. But she is the quirkiest, funniest. I mean, we just hit it off so much. So we had this really nice run of movies. I think there's a chance that we may be rebooting the franchise. I'm in negotiations now.
Tell us the name of it again.
Wedding March.
Wedding March.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, it was so great to work with Josie on such a different level. Outside of the show, share memories and just these chapters, right? Girls of our lives. It's sort of right now we're almost opening a new chapter together, just as friends here, because it's been so long. So,
well, that's been the best thing. We keep talking about that. The best thing, part of doing this podcast is seeing everybody again. And it is so sweet because that time, as you know, was so intense and we were all so young.
Yeah.
And to meet each other now when we're all so much lighter, like that's what they don't tell you. As you get older, you feel lighter, you're happier, you don't take yourself as seriously.
There was no time back then. There was no off stage, like, let's get together this weekend.
Well, yeah, but also we were very earnest. Like you were having a lot of fun, Jack, but I was very super earnest about the work. And I wish I could have been lighter, but now we get to do it again. It's like we get this special do-over. We're so lucky.
Yeah, listen, though, to your defense and all of our defense, I don't think people really understand that we were doing 34 episodes in like 2 or 3 years. It's called double ups for the audience out there.
Nuts.
We would have 2 production crews, 2 directors, and 2 different episodes going at once. Like that's insane. No series
always
has ever
on
done
set.
that.
Yeah. You're either sleeping, learning lines, or on set.
We've talked about that a lot, and it's really hard to imagine. How many episodes do you do a season in When Calls the Heart?
12.
12.
Yeah.
That's
nice.
like reasonable.
But it takes you 3 years to get as many episodes. So kids now will do a show on a streamer. They'll do 6 episodes. Then it could be 2 years before they do another season. Yeah. And it sounds like a lot of money, but spread over 2 years, it's not as much. I mean, so I'm glad I did it when I was young. I could not do it today. There's no way.
Thank God we had Aaron Spelling who wanted to get into syndication faster. So
but nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing
more money
32
from syndication. So he got us up to 100 episodes very fast. I mean,
he also really liked actors, Yeah. Because quite a few of us directed, and it was so nice to, I know I directed, and just everybody was, supported Thomas and Rob and myself and whoever else directed. It wasn't like, there was an ego attached. We all knew that it was a tough job, and it was very cool, Aaron, I think, to trust us. And, to be, a team effort, right? Even
well, when you get on a set and when you're on a well-oiled machine and that's your first directing, that's amazing because on One Tree Hill, I had some of the actors they directed, but they have the crew they know, they have they have the script they know, they have the friends they know.
Right.
So it was there for you.
Yeah, because you need the DP and you need them to pick the lens and what do you want. You tell them, and then they kind of do the technical things that you really aren't seasoned on. Some people maybe, but I was a little green at it. I certainly was into the performance end of things in terms of acting and, working through a scene, et cetera. I love that component. But the other part, the pre-production, post-production, I never chased directing after that, because I really just was too much of an actor. I just didn't like the pre-post part of the directing.
Have you?
So you don't direct When Calls the Heart?
Yeah, no.
Because it's a Canadian deal. They hire Canadian directors, right? Because there's a 25% tax break to shoot in Vancouver.
Wow.
So that's why, Hallmark, there's so many of their movies up there and a lot of their production up there.
Jack, you've been up there so long shooting that did you get a Canadian card to work there as well?
No.
I know some American actors now can also work as Canadian, or they can live there or something.
They just tax the hell out of me up there and in America. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, you just get to do that twice. That's what a privilege. Well, we're so excited that we got this excuse to see you and that we have every reason to see you again soon.
Oh, good.
So for now, we just want to remind everybody that your season finale of When Calls the Heart, season 12 finale is airing this Sunday.
This Sunday on Hallmark Channel. Yeah, 6 p.m. East Coast. I think in 9 p.m. West Coast, in Central.
I think that's backwards. I think it's 9 p.m. East Coast, 6 p.m. West Coast.
Yeah.
We're not good we don't have to be good at math. We don't have to. We're too pretty to be good at math. We don't have to.
But this sounds logical. If it's 9 p.m. on the East Coast, it should be 6 p.m. on the West. Am I right, people?
Are we helping you, Jack? Are you enjoying yourselves with us? How good we are at this?
Dreading me because of my arithmetic. Thank you. Yes.
But we are happy to have you for your humor and your handsomeness and always bringing joy.
Can't wait to see you and hug you in person and talk to you even longer and more.
I can't wait to see you guys. It's been so nice to reconnect like this. Thanks for having me and, promoting this. And just let me know when we're going to get together, maybe in a week or two, I hope, right?
Yes,
very
it's in a
soon.
week. We're so excited.
Thanks for coming. We
love you.
So good to see you.
Congratulations
We'll see
on
you
the show.
soon. Thank you, Jack.
Bye.
Well, that was fun. Don't forget to see Jack in his season finale of When Calls the Heart on the Hallmark Channel this Sunday at 9 o'clock, 8 Central.
Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang just won Podcast of the Year at this year's iHeart Podcast Awards.
Oh, wow. You're kidding. Stop it.
Lady Gaga will take home the Innovator Award at Monday's iHeart Radio Music Awards. Now, these iHeart Award winners are teaming up on a brand new episode of Las Culturistas.
Thank you so much for having me here, but please, please, please don't make me get angry about anything in public.
Just open the free iHeart Radio app, search Las Culturistas, and listen now.
What's up, y'all? I'm AJ Andrews, pro softball player, sports analyst, and the first woman to win a Rawlings Gold Glove. On my new podcast, Dropping Diamonds, we dive headfirst into the world of softball by sharing powerful stories, insights, and conversations that inspire and empower. It's time to drop bombs and diamonds. Dropping Diamonds with AJ Andrews is an iHeart Women's Sports production in partnership with Athletes Unlimited Softball League and Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment. Listen to Dropping Diamonds with AJ Andrews on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Brought to you by Novartis, founding partner of iHeart Women's Sports Network.
Have you ever wondered if your pet is lying to you?
Why is my cat not here? And I go in and she's eating my lunch.
Or if hypnotism is real?
You will use the suggestion in order to enhance your cognitive control.
Or what's inside a black hole?
Black holes could be a consequence of the way that we understand the universe.
Well, we have answers for you in the new iHeart original podcast, Science Stuff. Join me, Jorge Cham, as we answer questions about animals, space, our brains, and our bodies. So give yourself permission to be a science geek and listen to Science Stuff on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Prohibition is synonymous with speakeasies, jazz, flappers, and of course, failure. I'm Ed Helms, and on season 3 of my podcast, Snafu, there's a story I couldn't wait to tell you. It's about an unlikely duo in the 1920s who tried to warn the public that prohibition was going to backfire so badly it just might leave thousands dead from poison. Listen and subscribe to Snafu on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
In 2020, a group of young women found themselves in an AI-fueled nightmare.
Someone was posting photos. It was just me naked. Well, not me, but me with someone else's body parts.
This is Levittown, a new podcast from iHeart Podcasts, Bloomberg, and Kaleidoscope about the rise of deepfake pornography and the battle to stop it. Listen to Levittown on Bloomberg's Big Take podcast. Find it on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.